Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us. Gosh, we've been doing this I think we started these meetings out in October, and we went from weekly meetings to this bi-weekly format as we remain committed to keeping you all updated with developments as this effort in the resettlement of our new arrivals continues, because the effort, as I always say, was more than just a welcoming party. It's actually helping our new arrivals to really find their place in this community and put them on a path to success and prosperity, whichever way that they define that. We have gone through the process of temporary housing to permanent housing, and now really seeing placements, which is really where the large activity is now, is in job placements. We have seen families have just completed that 6-month period, and looking at settling in their own, taking up the management of their own rents and utility bills, and exploring the numerous other opportunities that are offered by the International Institute for them to access benefits that they are due right up to 5 years after arrival here. So this is more than just a resettlement conversation. This is actually putting them on a path to success and full integration within the community. But even as we talk about the Afghan resettlement initiative, we cannot be oblivious of the fact that we continue to see an uptick in arrivals within the community. So it's not only whilst we're going down the path with the Afghans, we're also seeing new arrivals, and I'm going to provide some update on that. So today we're essentially going to, but we will talk about where our next big, I don't want to call it a challenge, but our next big opportunity as a community is with reference to legal assistance to the Afghans. And I know we spoke a little bit about that last week. Today we're going to cover that as well, and then we will talk about the next big event that's coming up, which is the Festival of Nations, and then we'll have our regular community updates and open up for question and answers. With that in mind, I'm going to start by just giving us an update on where we are with reference to arrivals. We have seen since our last meeting on the 29th, we've had 3 cases of 15 individuals arrive. St. Louis, that we have been working to put them into, and these arrivals have gone into permanent housing, which is a good thing. We have 21 individuals, so 13 cases set to arrive in the next 10 days. The average case size is 1.8. This would be pretty, never say easy, but this, when the case sizes are smaller, it's more likely that we can find permanent housing for them. But 21 individuals set to arrive in the next 10 days is pretty hectic. Fortunately for us, we have this partnership. Our housing team has been working in collaboration with the community to secure housing. We know we're constantly getting an update on arrivals, so we know that there will be more arrivals coming in this month, and this is going to probably be a trend that is significantly going to be increasing as we get into later into July and August, and September, as we come to the end of the fiscal year. Obviously, it's not going to be where projections were based on the presidential determination at the beginning of the year, but we know for sure that we're going to see that significant increase in arrivals. And we continue to work with our community partners in welcoming and providing support for these families as they come into the community. Like I mentioned earlier, job placements is really where we're seeing a huge activity now. In the month of June alone, we saw about 46 job placements, and these are only those that we can account for. They're probably other job placements that are happening that either get reported to us late or that are not reported to us at all. We also seen an average wage range of about near $16 an hour, which I don't want to say it's a good thing, but comparatively higher than where it used to be in the past years. So that's a sign of the average wage rate trending upwards. That's where we are in terms of our arrival updates. Our resettlement team continues to be busy. We have this daily meetings to keep track of who's coming, how we're resettling them, what are the challenges, what are the opportunities. And as we face those challenges, we're working with the community to address them. Most of the arrivals that we've seen in the last few weeks have been from the Democratic Republic of Congo, so primarily from Africa, but I know that we've also seen Syrian arrival in the last week as well. The next phase of our resettlement effort with the Afghans is really a reference to legal assistance for Afghans, and I'm going to turn this over to Paul Costigan, who is the Senior Vice President here at the International Institute and leading the Missouri Office of Refugee Administration, which happens to be part of the International Institute. For Paul to talk about how we're getting support, not just the International Institute, but the Missouri and particularly this region, because there's not one organization that can address this really complex challenge that we faced even before the Afghan arrivals, and now it's just compounded. So let me turn this over to you, Paul.
Hey, great. Thanks, Aray. Just wanted to give a few more numbers as far as arrivals is concerned from a state and national perspective, because kind of when you see what's going on nationally, you can kind of see what's going on statewide and what's going to be happening locally. So, so as you said, the number of standard refugee arrivals for this year is much lower than the presidential determination was set in October. As of yesterday, there were 15,139 arrivals nationally, and 4,800 SIV arrivals. Those are all Afghans who had served or with the military or had worked with the United States government. The projected arrivals for the remainder of this year, which goes through September 30th, is between 23 and 25,000. So there are a good 7 to 10,000 more refugees coming in the last 3 months of this year than the first 9 months of the year. So it will be a busy period, let's say. There are the top countries of expected arrivals so far, and then anticipated through the last quarter of the year are, as you mentioned, Congo, #1, Syria, Sudan, Burma, and of course Afghanistan for people who have been able to flee Afghanistan into neighboring countries, and to get their visas and their P1 and P2 programs processed. There are, as we look into next year as well, there are high numbers of interviews taking place with USCIS in the fourth quarter of this year. They have already 18,000 people scheduled for interviews just in the fourth quarter, which is a kind of post-COVID high for them. They had quite a few issues with staffing because the field offices in those the countries where they do those interviews had been closed due to the pandemic. So those are reopened, and they are filling up slots for refugee interviews. So we'll see that continued arrival burst happening into next year. So and now let me talk a little bit about MOORA, if I can, just for a second before I go headfirst into legal assistance. We are the Missouri Office of Refugee Administration, and we are an independent office within the International Institute of St. Louis. In 2017, the state of Missouri decided to give up on the administration of the refugee program, the statewide refugee program, and the International Institute applied to become the replacement designee for the state and was awarded that distinction. So we utilize federal funds from the Office of Refugee Resettlement and distribute those across the state to resettlement agencies and refugee service provider agencies to provide a number of programs, including refugee cash assistance, refugee support services, which is refugee employment, services to older refugees, youth mentoring, and a program that's called RTAC, which is it's a program to address clients who are on temporary assistance or eligible for temporary assistance to engage them into employment activities so that they can get off of public assistance if they're on public assistance in the near future. So lots of programs going on that are across the state. We fund programs, obviously, at the International Institute of St. Louis, but also 2 agencies in Kansas City, one in Columbia, one in Springfield, which is the satellite office of the International Institute, and also one in Joplin. And so we have a good wide statewide reach. We work closely with the Office of Refugee Resettlement, which is the primary funder for these programs, and that is who we have to report back to. So so we have kind of a national attachment to ORR, and then a statewide attachment to all of the resettlement agencies and the service agencies across the state. And then as a segue, we have received to this point over 1,750 Afghan humanitarian parolees into the state since the start of the resettlement of the evacuated out of Kabul. That number actually keeps growing. There are Afghans who are arriving at the National Conference Center in Northern Virginia. There are generally flights coming in weekly, bringing Afghans from overseas military bases into the National Conference Center where they're processed. And then those folks are sent out to local agencies such as the International Institute. And so every week I get more information on the number of people and the number of cases who are being resettled. So I think in the next week, there are 15 more Afghans coming to Kansas City, for example. So continual growth in the number of Afghans coming into Missouri, which is a very good thing for our communities, but it also means that there are community resources still necessary to support these incoming families. And I think that Springfield is also having one. So, but what this means for legal assistance is important, because most of the ones that came over from Operation Allies Welcome have come in under a status that is, well, it's not even a status. They they let us know that parolee is not a status, but we need to adjust our Afghan allies from this humanitarian parolee status, which is not really a status, but to a more permanent status, such as asylum, or SIV status, which allows them to stay permanently in the United States and seek citizenship after 5 years, which is the goal. So because there are so many people, upwards of 75,000 people across the country who are going to be simultaneously seeking asylum status, it's going to put a big burden on legal assistance all across the country, and which is also true for Missouri. USCIS, which is interviewing humanitarian parolees to determine whether they qualify for asylum, are gearing up, but still are understaffed to provide interviews and additional assistance to this population. So the Office of Refugee Resettlement has provided the state of Missouri with additional resources to enable service providers all across the state to process, to put in applications for asylum for their Afghan clients, in the hopes that a expedited USCIS process will take place, which will enable them to have asylum status, enabling them to be here permanently, and eventually seek citizenship, as do groups of standard refugees. So our office, Missouri Office of Refugee Administration, has contracted not only with the resettlement agencies that I mentioned in those cities, but also we have 2 new subcontractors that are going to help us coordinate the legal assistance services for Afghans across the state. We have one located in St. Louis, which is MICA project, which many of you I'm sure know or have worked with in the past. The other one is on the Kansas City side, which is the asylum clinic. It's called Asylum Clinic KC, or Asylum Clinic Kansas City. And they are working with the agencies on the western side of the state, and as well as Southwest Missouri there in Springfield and Joplin, to coordinate services for Afghans who were resettled in those areas. So MICA project in St. Louis will take on the work for St. Louis and for Columbia, and Asylum Clinic KC for Western and Southwestern Missouri. They are going to be looking for volunteer asylum or immigration attorneys to provide pro bono and low bono services to enable people to apply for asylum and then walk them through the process for interviews and ultimately for approval of their asylum applications. Up to this point, there have been about 99% of those who have applied, the Afghans who have applied for asylum have been approved, but it is a very small number at this point. So we're going to work with our partners on both sides of the state to ensure that the agencies are able to provide the asylum applicants all the materials and all of the support that they need, and so that the asylum application goes as seamless as possible, so that, you know, hopefully in Missouri we can have a 100% approval rate for the cases that are applying for asylum. Some of the things that our two new subcontractors are doing are providing with trying to educate the local agencies on the important things that they need to bring with them, all the documentation, making sure documentation is in order. Again, looking for the immigration attorneys, which in some parts of the state are very scarce. But we don't need to have them we don't need to have the immigration attorneys in Joplin, for example. We can have them dispersed throughout the state. But the interviews will be taking place in certain locations, predominantly in St. Louis and Kansas City. And so there might be some transportation that we will have to fund to ensure that those asylum applicants will be able to travel to their asylum interviews. So that is what's going on with the legal assistance. There's a whole lot more information, and hopefully we get at an additional Wednesday meeting, we can bring our new partners on board, and they can kind of talk a little bit about the activities that they are trying to put in place across the state. I think that'd be good information for everyone as well. So be happy to answer any questions. My staff, fellow staff member, colleague, Misha from Kansas City is on the call. She's been working very closely with Asylum Clinic KC, and they've been putting together a whole broad range of services over there. So if you have any questions for Misha, they'd be really happy to answer anything as well. So.
Yeah, hi. So as Paul said, I'm in Kansas City, and so, but because this is statewide, I can answer questions from anyone. And I know with, like Paul said, with Asylum Clinic and KC, you know, we're and Micah Project is working on getting those volunteers. And I know Leslie, who's with Asylum Clinic, has already started a program to start providing that education to potential volunteer lawyers to help. And so they're really proactive and jumping right in. So I know they're going to do a great job. But yeah, just definitely reach out to me if any questions come up, because I'm one of the points of contact, and we're really excited about this.
Great, thank you, Paul and Misha. This is a sprawling area because it just seems to continue to grow, and the challenge is there. Our hope eventually is that we don't have to go through all of this if we had the Afghan Adjustment Act passed. But in the meantime, we're getting the infrastructure ready. Any questions at this time for Paul or Misha with reference to Afghan legal assistance question. I see a question from Anita asking whether this legal services can be done virtually or must they be in person.
So it can definitely be a mix. There are some things, the actual asylum interview must be done in person. You know, it's going to depend on the attorneys. There's probably information that can be done through representatives at the local agencies, the documentation collection and things like that, and sent over to the immigration attorneys. So, but the actual asylum interviews are always in person.
Thank you, Paul. Seeing what a question, I'm going to go on to, well, we can, you know, if there are any questions that arise, we will come back to you, Paul, so you're not off the hook yet. Let's to quickly, we're looking forward to August when we have our Festival of Nations come up. You know, just quickly, I want to make sure that I take this question, it seems. So there is the question from Kathy with reference to the Land of Lincoln Legal Services in East St. Louis. Are there any refugees seeking to live in Illinois? Paul, go ahead.
So yeah, so because we're a statewide program, our focus is obviously on Missouri, but we have very close connections with our neighboring partners in Kansas and Iowa and Illinois, for example. The Illinois State Refugee Office would of course handle those issues, and they would have to actually have their legal assistance done over in Illinois. Although the St. Louis office is attached to a regional office in Chicago, so there could be some limited amount of crossover because they do. East St. Louis and St. Louis would share that regional office in Chicago, whereas our Kansas City folks, even our Columbia folks, are attached to the regional office in Kansas City. So, so we can, if anybody hears of a parolee, an Afghan parolee who's looking for legal assistance that lives on the Illinois side, definitely contact the Mo-Ora office, and we can get them connected to the right resources over on the Illinois side.
Great, thank you, Paul. I just saw that question come in, and it's really important. Now we can go on to talk about Festival of Nations, which is coming up in August 27th to 28th, back at Tower Grove Park. And I'm hoping that Jacqueline Ballard is on, Jacqueline, to talk a little bit about the Festival of Nations. But as you can see, we have a new visual there, new logo for the Festival of Nations. We're giving it a fresh look. It has a new website, and I think that website is going to be going on live one of these days. But you would be able to find out as much information. We're trying to have a Festival of Nations this year that is really as engaging as it was the last time that we had in 2019, but even more engaging this time around, where we have seen a lot of activity in terms of arrivals, that there is need for us to think beyond just the showcase of the food and drink, and really use this platform as an advocacy opportunity for us to explain why the work that we do is necessary, why building this rich, diverse community is really important for our experience all together as a community, and the Festival of Nations is really 2 great days in which we can showcase that. But for us to be successful with this festival, we really need to bring out that rich diversity. We need the support of the community to participate in showcasing the diverse culture and being present in being there to stand with one another and really show what the St. Louis is. So I'm going to turn this over to Jackie.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to hold on until I get an indication.
Then I'm here. I'm here.
Yeah.
Thanks, Art. All right. Yeah, we're really looking forward to having Bustle of Nations back in Tower Grove Park. It's we've just been kind of pulling together all of the details to bring this wonderful event back in person and in kind of its full capacity. We just had our first food vendor meeting last week. We're finalizing all of our performers, all of our nonprofit booth spaces. All of that is underway and happening. And as you can kind of see from some of our photos and the slides here, that we're just really excited to be able to bring people back together in person, and to really celebrate the multiculturalism and diversity that's present in our community. And we're really excited to build off of some of what we did on World Refugee Day and really kind of continue to have great performances and interactive activities for all ages, and really kind of present this as a place for people to learn and grow and hear the message of what we've been doing as the International Institute and partners that have been working with us for almost a year now, since the most recent influx, and how we've really changed and wanting to engage the community in greater ways. So we hope that you are able to come out. Please put it on your calendars and plan to be there. We do have kind of 2 main asks here that we are kind of pushing forward at the moment. One of these is related to sponsorship, and we still have sponsorship opportunities available. And we have a very excited person in this picture who just delighted to sponsor our event. So we have a number of opportunities available. My colleague, Melissa George, is the contact for that. And that email is incorrect. I'm going to put the correct one in the chat right now. And we'll get it updated as well on the slides. But we are really thrilled to be able to bring on a lot of new sponsors this year, and always looking to expand our reach and really partner with organizations that want to invest in our community and invest in diversity in the St. Louis region. We also are going to have a number of volunteer opportunities as well. And that contact is Chrissy Durant. I'll also put her info in there. And within the next 24 hours, I anticipate all this information will be live on our website. So you're welcome to go check it out, but I'm just putting the disclaimer of probably wait maybe till tomorrow morning and check it out then, and you'll have slightly more accurate information, that we don't want to send you to the wrong place. So thank you so much for all of your support throughout the year, and we're so excited to be back with the festival.
Thank you, Jacqueline. With reference to the festival, yeah, we are absolutely looking for partners and sponsors and volunteers and wanting people to show up for the Festival of Nations, and a projected 150 to 250,000 people we hope to engage in those 2 days, and to tell a wider story of what we are doing together in St. Louis. So looking forward to it. Are there any questions with reference to the Festival of Nations? Hearing and seeing none, we're going to go on to next item on our agenda, which is community updates. I'm not sure if Kelly is back. Do we have, without which, Carlos, please, can you?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Ari, and good afternoon, everyone. So I just wanted to highlight a few volunteer and community opportunities coming up. We have, and I'll actually hand it over to Moji to talk about this Saturday's Eid.
Cool. Awesome. So real quick, this Saturday is Eid al-Adha. That it's going to take place in the same place that it took place last time, which is at Football Club STL. Same place we have our soccer Saturdays. The doors will open at 8:30. Prayer will start at 9. And that's it. Prayer usually takes about half an hour max, and then we'll be out of the building by 10 o'clock to celebrate Eid. Thank you.
Thanks, Moji. So for everybody who wants to participate, feel free to attend this Saturday at Football Club STL, which is 4900 Manchester Avenue. We also have some community volunteer orientations coming up here at the Institute on July 12th and July 30th. I'll put the link in the chat for those who would like to sign up. Essentially, these volunteer orientations are for individuals who are either volunteering with us currently or want to learn more about volunteering through the International Institute to really educate individuals on what the Institute does, how they can support the programs and work that we have going on, and also alongside with families that are arriving on a regular basis, as well as learning about some cultural sensitivities that we have at play. So the next two orientations will be in person at the Institute on July 12th and July 30th to help accommodate for different schedules. So we hope to see some familiar faces there. And of course, as mentioned with the Festival of Nations, we have a lot of volunteer opportunities that are also posted on our website, on our volunteer link. So we can go to the next page here. So yeah, just some reminders for opportunities for support through our online volunteer platform. We do have mock interviews for job interview workshops taking place still. Our Festival of Nations, and we are still looking for items such as box fans, irons, and laundry detergent, and size 1 and 2 diapers. And of course, grocery gift cards to Schnucks and Aldi, as well as contributions to the Tau Fund. And the Tau Fund is, goes directly to supporting new arrivals and refugees here in the St. Louis community. So your contributions are greatly appreciated, and your future contributions are also appreciated. So thank you. So yeah, just for more resources to volunteer, feel free to go to our website /volunteer to look at opportunities such as Festival of Nations, our programming, have still apartment setups that are going on, as well as some grocery shopping, excuse me. For groups that are looking to volunteer during the Festival of Nations, such as corporate groups, community groups, etc., please reach out to Chrissy Durant, the email there. And then of course, donations are always appreciated at the International Institute /donate. And then we'll go to the final slide of, just really thank everyone for continuing to advocate and really spread the mission, spread the word coming out of the International Institute to support all of our arrivals and the programming that we have going on. So of course, our social media pages, I want to also mention our YouTube channel and LinkedIn, where we have continuous updates coming from these channels. So looking forward to continually connecting and sharing and amplifying the messages. So thanks again, everyone.
Yeah, thank you very much, Carlos, for that update. Thank you to the team for continuous work. Really want to thank everybody for being here today. I'll be happy to if there are any questions, to take questions. I see that Anita announced as well that the next job interview workshop is for Friday, July 8th. That's coming up in 2 days. And for all of those who have volunteered in the past and who would volunteer to be part of this. Thank you very much. As you can see, job placement is actually something that's really vital now as we have our Afghans integrate this community, so that anyone who contributes to that is really playing a valuable part in this process. With that, I don't see any questions at this point. I will thank you all for being here today, for joining us. As we continue to make an effort to keep you updated with developments, we are seeing this uptick in arrivals, and we know that it's really going to get busy soon. And we should be able to give you an update. I know with reference to the Ukraine arrival situation, there's a lot going on behind the scenes in terms of how that would play out. We don't have enough information to share yet with how that is, but we have been notified that we should expect some announcements being made, which would significantly increase the number of the engagements that we have with the Ukrainian arrivals. But we have been seeing a slow increase in the number of arrivals of sponsored families. So families are sponsoring arrivals, and those families that once they arrive are able to come to the International Institute, and there are programs that they have access to. So the word out is that if there are any Ukrainian families that have arrived based on the status of arrivals, we should be able to provide support services from the International Institute. With that, if there are no other questions or announcements, then I want to thank you for being here today, and we will talk to you again 2 weeks from today. Thank you very much for everything.